Let's say, just for example and demonstration, that you are like me 9 or 10 years ago. 18 or 19 years old, just starting college, possibly just starting a job, definitely not coming from a world of what most would call a traditional side of cycling. Or maybe just not coming from the world of cycling at all. But overall, and most importantly, inexplicably, entertainingly, unbelievably bad with your finances. Bad with your finances in the way of when you save up, say, $200, you immediately spend that money on something stupid instead of saving up for the thing that you've been trying to save up for. And with these acknowledged character flaws and your new commuting responsibilities, the question of should you continue to try and save and fail for the bike that maybe you've been wanting and longing for versus should I just get the cheap single speed from the department store or Amazon that I can afford right now comes up. And the answer to the bane of all cantankerous cyclists of the world is yes. Get this so that you can start riding right now. And the reason why should be obvious, but we'll go over it anyway. Single speeds or fixed gears are just simple. There's not much on them to fail, there's not much to them, so it keeps the cost down, and it keeps the amount that you can ride up. Yes, you can argue that the crank, the bottom bracket, the chainring aren't the highest of quality, that the chain isn't the best that there is on the market, that the gearing's not quite right out of them, or that the wheels are heavy and they use loose ball bearing hubs, that the fork isn't carbon, or that you don't have an oversized aluminum handlebar or stem to match, or that the seat post is just too old school and it's not new and modern enough. But here's the thing. New riders, and you may or may not remember this because maybe you've been riding as long as I have, you don't know any of that. All you know is you've got this cohesive package that didn't cost very much that has got you riding now. There's this saying that pops up in the cycling community regularly, life's too short to ride shit bikes, that I absolutely hate. I think that saying can sort of guiltily reinforce the thought that like most cyclists are a little bit on the elitist side. Where I personally would much rather see a saying that goes along the lines of life's just too short to not be riding. That's not at all to say that a less expensive or cheaper single-speed fixed-gear bike from a department store or an online shop can't have its mechanical problems. It absolutely can. Typically, to cut costs, you'll see lower-end cranks and chainrings and lower-end chains. But really, depending on the type of riding that you're going to do, you'll probably never fully realize any issues with it. If you do, a single-speed chain, $15. A crank, chainring, and bottom bracket, I don't know, anywhere from 60 to 100. But the real beauty, before you even really need to consider any of that, after you've purchased it, you probably get to ride for at least a season before you need to consider replacing any of the less expensive parts on it. That is, of course, until you go to the comments down below where someone will inevitably be telling us about their cheap single speed exploding underneath them story. It's all anecdotal at this point, based on my views and based on theirs. Now, the beauty of buying the single speed or fixed gear at this price range is you get a lot more quality than what you would get if you were looking at a mountain bike or a possible road bike or hybrid for the same price at the same spot. When it comes to trying to bring the price of a geared bike down to what something like this is price-wise, many, many more corners are cut than what needs to be cut to create something like this. So while maybe you don't get that gear range that you've been reading about and all of the information you've been taking in, you do get a bit more solid of a foundation for general riding every day without any of the finickiness that lower cost geared bikes tend to have. And besides, if you live in a fairly hilly area and the idea of a single speed intimidates you or turns you off a little bit because you don't get those easier gears, just remember, it's okay to walk stuff sometimes. In my opinion, you've got two options: explore your city for flatter routes, or two, just walk up the stuff that you don't feel you can get up. It's It's pretty simple. Now, I assume after you've ridden the inexpensive single-speed fixed gear bike that you've bought that the bug has probably bit and that you are enjoying riding bikes more and more. And if still to this day you are anything like me and you're still terrible with your finances and every time you save up $200 you tend to want to spend it, you are in luck when it comes to upgrades because that tends to be the perfect amount to make any sort of changes to your inexpensive fixed gear. Maybe you want to play with different gearing options. Cheap. Maybe you do want to throw a different crankset on. Inexpensive. Maybe you want to change the fork. Typically, you can find these for fairly inexpensive. Wheels, secondhand, all day, everywhere. As a matter of fact, my friend on Instagram, Dan, had just bought a Walmart single speed bike and done just like a couple of upgrades to it, and he's already saying it's one of the most fun bikes that he is riding right now. From this to this, good times will be had. And then perhaps for your single speed or your mountain bike or your road bike or even your fridge at home, you may or may not be looking for a cheap, easy way to jazz it up. And boy, oh boy, do I have something for you. Releasing just today on spindat.com, the new sticker pack, beers, burgers, and bars. Slam 'em sticker pack. Want to show the world how ridiculous you are by slamming all stems to the top cap of your head tube? Nothing but the highest quality vinyl stickers. The beer can to show off you're not a square. The slammed out burger to show that you're not afraid to eat whatever's in front of you. And the unbelievably slammed road bike to show you don't mess around. $10 for all three thrown in an envelope and shipped to the address that you put through the Spindat store. Because when it comes to your stem, slam dat. So should you, as a new rider, looking to get into the sport for as inexpensive as possible, go for the cheap single speed bike? In my opinion, yeah, it's exactly what I did, and I can't recommend it enough. The sooner you'll get onto a bike, the sooner you will know that you want to be squirreling away that extra money to get the one you originally wanted. And besides, not having something to ride is a far worse option than anything else you can buy. These are the bikes that can create lifetime cyclists.